Welcome, comrades, to the program All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son, Andrew. We're located at 867 Church Street in the north end of New Bedford. We're just off of Route 140, exit 5. Put you on Church Street and just go down Church Street on the right-hand side. Right after Regal House and Webb and Dollar General is Ralph's Auto Center, directly opposite of New Bedford Vocational's faculty and the bus entrance. And there we are. You can ring us up here at 996-0500, 996-0500. Today being August 27th. Sunrise was at 6:05. We lost 7 minutes from last Saturday. 6:05, the sun is up after 6. I was up before 6 this morning, and I noticed it for sure. Sunset, depressing, absolutely depressing, will be at 7:24. We lost 11 minutes. 11 minutes of daylight is headed south. This week, we lost 18 minutes of light. It's rushing to the southern hemisphere. They're getting ready to enjoy their spring coming, and we're getting ready to, get ready to settle into fall, which is coming up on the 21st, around 21st of September, where we'll have darkness. Darkness will reign over light, okay, as we settle into fall, moving towards winter. So 18 minutes of light is headed south. We've lost so far, from the first day of summer, we've lost just under 2 hours. 1 hour and 53 minutes of daylight is gone. And I'm sure you're noticing it if you're paying attention. Okay? It's depressing to me anyway. That although today's a gorgeous day, it's nice and hot and warm. And, just enjoy it. Have to enjoy it. Today, high tide will be at 4:42 in the New Bedford Harbor. 4:42 this afternoon. Low tide has already taken place a couple hours ago at 10:58 in the waters surrounding New Bedford. Moonrise has taken place at 1:17 this morning. And it sets at 4:07, which will probably be difficult to see because I think we're down to a quarter moon, crescent moon right in that ballpark. So a new moon will be heading at us this week. And the cycle starts again. So there you have what's happening around you. You can give us a call here at 996-0500, 996-0500. We have a caller here. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Good afternoon, Ralphie boy.
Hey, Billy.
Yes, sir.
You're early today.
Well, yeah.
You're not fooling around.
No, not today.
No, you're in the game.
So what's happening?
Well, I'm driving your car, your old car.
Oh, the old caddy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Runs good. Putting it through its pace. Can't let those old horses sit long, though. You got to drive them.
Yep, you got them.
You got to keep them going.
Yep.
So it's just like us. As we get older, we have to exercise more, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to, but you have to.
No, the old caddy runs really good.
Yeah. Few little things to tighten it up, and that's about it. The engine's strong on that.
Oh yeah, very strong.
Anybody looking for a nice caddy? I'm selling Billy's old Seville.
It's very clean.
Yeah, it's very clean. Runs good.
I took care of that. Every 3,000 miles, I got oil change and all the new parts put in. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, you kept it up. It's a nice ride for somebody.
Yep, it is. I like that ride better than one I got, but okay, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, that one you have is the old one was a much heavier vehicle.
Oh, much heavier.
Yeah, much heavier.
Although this is pretty good on gas.
Yeah. Well, your other one isn't a sled either. I just blasted back from Fall River, Somerset, Swansea. Somerset. Where was I? Somerset. And I just came over to this studio, and it's really good on the highway. It's really respectable. Mileage is well into the 20s.
Put your cruise on 60, and it's real good for mileage.
Well, Billy, I didn't drive 60, to be honest with you. I had to take the carbon off the piston tops.
Yeah, full of baloney.
So I got on that a little bit to get the carbon out, because you were driving that. So we're just getting it to, breathe a little deeper, let's say. But that North Star really has some kahunas to it, let me tell you.
Let me tell you.
It's got kahunas. You get on that thing.
Oh, yeah, she's good, boy.
Yeah.
You're 80, 90, look at, what am I doing?
Yeah, oh, no, I know. That thing is like riding on air.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so. But, your car's doing well. You're enjoying it?
Yeah, I put door edge guards on, got the extra tailpipe extensions on it.
Oh, okay, you found those, okay.
Yeah, so it's she's looking a little sporty now.
Yeah, you had to give it that 50s touch.
Yeah, I did. I gave it to her. I got the chrome license plates around with the glass reflectors, green in front and red in the black, in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking a little sporty now.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of young people don't even know what that stuff's about. You know?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
I had a lot of that stuff left in the old cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the chrome pipe extensions look good. That's something you don't see from the factories unless it's a real high-end car.
Yeah.
They'll finish off the exhaust ports, you know, and they'll make them artistically attractive, you know.
It looks much better back there now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the chrome tips add a little class to it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure does.
You'd think the factory would have figured that out, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
But,
well.
give it a little bling.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story here.
Go ahead.
Thursday night, I took the old Merc, and we went out to a little time happening.
Yep.
And I pulled up, and they'd give me free food away, so I was getting mine. Somebody come on, hey, your car to be granny, please. I said, what's that? He said, probably it's overflow. I look, I said, there ain't overflow there. So I lift up the hood, and the top, where the top pan is, the top piece, not the radiator, but the pan up top, it's just, boom, coming right out of that, like a little piece, coming right out. So the guy said, well, a Ram truck. I said, no Ram truck. I'll fix this. Why aren't you going to stop it? I said, no, I ain't loosening that cap now. You crazy? So after it cooled down, I took the cap off, and it stopped leaking. So I left the cap wheel on, and I grabbed in the trunk a couple of gallons of water. And the guy said, you ain't taking that home? I said, I certainly am taking it home. Oh, we ain't going to get you far. I said, boy, these guys are real goofballs here, let me tell you. I got on the road, and I went right down the road, on Alden Road. I hit Cogswell Street. Now there's a couple of cars in front. So what I did is I laid back off them cars so it wouldn't suck up their exhaust. And I bring the idle up a little bit. Went down, I got on 195. That needle went right back to where it belongs. And I come up, I went up one, instead of going to hit all the lights on 10th Street, I went north and I went down Hathaway Road and down Rockville Avenue.
Now, you had a leak in your coolant system, correct?
Yeah, the radiator.
So the radiator sprouted a leak.
Yeah, right up top, right where the seam is, with the cap, the brass top cap.
So
is.
the top of the tank.
Yeah.
So the top of the tank,
right out of
it was leaking at. It was the soldering had let go, or
Yes.
so.
A hole, just a hole, because it was just.
Yeah.
It was like went to the bathroom.
Yep. So it was at the top of the tank, not one of the ribs, not one of the cooling.
No, that's what I'm saying. I was lucky. Now, if it was down below, well, you got problems, right?
Yeah, you could run it with the radiator cap loose.
Of course you could.
Yeah, and bring it home.
And I let it go below, just below that tank, so it wouldn't blow it up over anymore. You know, I let what was up top, I let go out.
Right, but there was still coolant in the fins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you had enough, and then those old engines, you're probably running 160, 180.
160.
Yeah, 160. So she's running on the coal side.
Yeah, but a lot of these people look at you like, you got two heads.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're going to run that? Oh, I'm going to run it home, no problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're running 160 degrees. That's pretty cold. Well, I mean, it's a hot day today. Well, yesterday too, but Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, but still, the ambient temperatures have been high. But you're only running $160.
That's all.
On the engine runs at that speed with the thermostat, compared to the new stuff that's running at 220.
Yeah.
210, 220.
You're right.
Yeah. So.
And then when you get in the highway and you're going about 60 miles an hour, that wind is just cooling that radiator right off.
Yeah. You're shedding
As soon as I got home, you know what I had to do? Get the hose, get the stroke, and wash that damn thing down.
Yeah.
The antifreeze off all over the place.
Yeah.
And then I'm washing the engine out, because it hit, when I first realized it was hitting the hood and bouncing into the engine. So I put soap on the engine, and I'm washing. Somebody comes by and says, you're washing the engine? It ain't ever going to start. I said, believe me, it's going to start.
Yeah.
I said, if you go to a garage and looking for a leak somewhere, they wet the engine up and they're looking for it.
Yeah, we wash engines all the time. You got to take certain measures. I mean, you have points and condensers, so you don't want to get the distributor all soaked. But
but just cover it.
Yeah. The old days if the distributor got drenched, you would have a problem starting your car. You'd be misfiring like crazy.
But you cover it up and you can wash it. And of course, they said, how are you going to dry it? I said, I ain't. I'm just going to start it and it's going to throw it all over the place, and I got to wipe the fenders again. That's all. Unbelievable what people don't know, Ralphie.
Oh, today it's the lack of knowledge on many subjects. I mean, they know how to turn a light on and off. That's about it. But it goes, comes to changing the bulb, it's problematic. So that's society we're in today, Billy. And as we have more and more computers, and people take the easy way of just letting these things do things for you. But you only understand if you understand how things work, they run better.
That's right. You got to know how they work.
Yeah, if you know how they work, they run better. Okay, they'll run better for you because you know how to you know how they run their operations, and such is life. Same with politics, right?
Mm-hmm. And what you got to know is, boy, you got to wash that antifreeze off that car quick.
Yeah, it's not good to leave it on.
I took some of that good soap and washed that sucker down 2 or 3 times, and I could see where that wax was going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you use the green stuff in that car? You used the green antifreeze?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that radiator, so now you have to have send it to a radiator guy. There anybody left it?
Oh, yeah, Riverside Auto Wrecking over there on Boston Avenue in Cushionet. I was right near there when it happened.
He does radiators? He fixes them?
Oh, he does radiators, tanks, he's done all that stuff for me.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking to him. I went down there with Andy Gomes, took me by to introduce me to him.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. And,
nice guy.
I haven't been there in years. I mean,
yeah. Well, like the pump on the Mercury, the fuel pump, I don't like what the noise is making. It's getting low because they told me when they put it together. So I sent mine out to then and now in Weymouth.
Yeah.
I put it 1 o'clock in the post office. 5 o'clock, the 24th. Now, this is 23rd. I sent it. Your pump is all set. And it was here first thing on the 25th. So I said to our boy over there, I said, took you 5 weeks to get your pump from California when you could have had it in less than a day or two right here in Massachusetts.
Did you have it rebuilt, Billy?
Yeah, I had it rebuilt.
They actually still rebuild the old fuel pumps?
Yes.
And they have the diaphragms and everything there to do that?
Because I mentioned what kind of car, 54 Merc. He said, no problem.
Wow.
Just ship it to me.
Wow.
And it come back, and it's like brand new. And he left all the old parts in the bag to show what he took out of the pump and put in a new one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Fords were great for making a noise years ago.
Yeah, that sucker was starting to make like a squeaky noise. Just drive me nuts, you know?
Yeah, well, they used to make like almost a rapping noise. The rod that went to the cantilever, there used to be a little...
It sounded like it was going to throw a rod somewhere.
Yeah, it sounded like they used to use a rod that would move the lever to the fuel pump, and they were noted for making noises, at least on the Ford products, Ford Mercury, years ago.
Yeah, well,
I haven't experienced.
I've been in there for years and years and years. What I should have done, I found one. At that time, I didn't know I had an extra one.
Yeah.
So I found one right in the box. It stated what it was for. And I called them. They said, no problem, just ship it out to me. And I shipped it out. And on the 23rd at 1 o'clock, and the 24th at 5 o'clock, they come to your pump is ready. I gave my card and all that, and the mailman delivered at 1 o'clock on the 25th.
Yeah, I didn't know that they rebuilt those in up in what town in Massachusetts?
Weymouth. Washington Street, Weymouth, Mass.
Huh.
Then and now.
Huh. Then and now, huh?
Yeah. They build any kind of fuel pump.
What's the cost for a new one, a replacement? Probably a Chinese replacement, right?
Be Chinese. This is American I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yours. Now, does yours have the separate glass fuel filter bowl?
Yes.
So that's part of the pump itself, though, right?
Yeah, there's double action.
Okay, so but it's integral to the pump. It's made. It comes as one unit, right?
Right. Yeah, all one unit.
Yeah, because I know some were separated, but yeah, that's the old days, the old way of doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you can change the gas filter right there.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Now today, people forget about gas filters. It's never done on cars. Mechanics don't bring it up unless you have a problem and they get into a real teching situation, and that can drive you out of your mind finding out.
Well, Ralph, what I did with the old cars, I took the big filter you could see through.
Yeah.
And I cut the line underneath the body so you wouldn't see it, and put it there. And once a year, when I get it up on the lip, I change it. $25.
So you change it. So you're
I don't
changing.
use the one that you can't see. The
Right.
steel one. I want the plastic one so I can look in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep. So each one of mine have one of them filters besides the one by the carburetor.
So, okay, I was just going to say that in addition to the one that comes standard, well, in some cases was optional from the factory, but...
You're right.
Going way back in the early 50s and 40s and 30s, it was optional until I think in the 50s they finally gave up and made it standard. But a lot of cars you paid extra for the oil filter. Excuse me. Yeah, the oil filter was an option, right?
Yes, because on the Plymouth I bought it off the lady there. She gave me all the paperwork, and when they bought it, they wanted that, and it cost them, I think, $1.75 for the filter.
Yeah, you had to pay for the option of having an oil filter on your engine.
And if you want a heater, you had to pay for a heater for that car also.
People don't realize today that a lot of things were not standard.
This car comes stripped, and that's how the dealer made his money. Put the options on.
Right. Jeeps were that way. Everything was optional on a Jeep.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
On the Willys and the 40s and all that, when they started selling them to the consumer, you had to, build the machine to your specs. And depending how you spec'd it out, there's a service you'd get out of it, So like everything else, it's you get what you pay for.
Well, the trouble when I pull this radiator, you can take a screwdriver and do the clamp, and you can slide it back off the hose, up to the back. Well, whoever put the clamp on when they put the engine in, they put the clamp so the damn screw is down in the bottom.
So you can't get it.
There's a pan there. So I can't get at it, so now I got to remove the whole pan to get at that. But when I put it on this time, it's going to be facing up, so if it ever happens again, all I can do is take the screwdriver and turn it.
So the person who worked on it, the mechanic, then wasn't really using his head?
He could have had somebody helping him.
Yeah.
And they took the clamp and they turned it so that it wasn't up where normally it should be. It was turned down and it was like kitty corner.
I see that.
What a sucker to get out.
Yeah, some mechanics are that way. They don't think for the next guy. They don't think making a job easy if you return to it. They take the easy way out for everything.
And the old cars always had that pan underneath it, so I had about 6 bolts to pull the pan and push it back.
You're talking what, the splash pan for the engine?
Yeah.
So that protects all the debris flying up. That's the pan you're talking about.
Yes.
On that car, is it metal?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the top, not the. They used to like to use a heavy, almost like not a top paper. You know what I'm talking, like a rubber.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like a rubberized.
Yeah. The new cars have got it.
Yeah. Well, the new ones use these plastic.
Yeah.
Panels now that.
Yeah, this is pretty hard. I know what you're talking about. They're pretty hard, but after a while, from all the weathering, they just soften up and they fall apart.
Yeah, they rip and tear. And,
right.
And
this one is completely steel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the old way of doing it.
Yeah. So I had to loosen that and slide it back so I could get that clamp. And I couldn't get at the petcock because that clamp was in the way, too, the way they turned it. So now that I got the clamp out of the way, then I could open up the petcock and drain the antifreeze out in the bucket.
It sounds like the guy who put that clamp on had that plate out of the way, and he was working from underneath, and he put it to his favor. Because
I had to jack the damn car up, put the horses under it, and get at it.
Yep.
And then I had to get the right socket, and then I had to put a big extension because I couldn't use the smaller thing because it got hitting some of the frame,
I give you credit, Billy, for a guy your age there. You still got enough, enough going for you. You can do that kind of work, because that's a little bit of work there to jack it up, put it on horses, get under it.
I would never jack it up without horses, and, never.
Yeah, there was a fella recently got crushed. He died.
Yes. Yep.
Recently, I think within the less than a year. I think it happened in this area. I'm trying to recall. I was reading about it and how he didn't jack up the car properly. A lot of people were trying to do-it-yourself to save money, and I can understand that. But if you don't know what you're doing and you can hurt yourself, and he did more than hurt himself. He actually killed himself.
Yeah, I would never trust those jacks.
Yeah, well, not all this. No,
No,
I would not trust a jack. I've seen, and now these jacks are all imported. The quality is marginal at best.
Right.
These Chinese jacks. I mean,
I'm lucky. I got one of the real old jacks.
Yeah, if you got a Lincoln or an American made, you pay triple, but it's usually they're made for. Well, they're built to professional standards. It's made for the trade, so it's not this homeowner type.
It isn't that, but once you get the jack there, you can't get underneath to get at what I was getting at because the jack's in the way.
Right.
So that's why you get the horses on there for double, and then in the back wheel, I had these angled blocks I put behind the wheels of the car also.
And you're going to know where to put your horses too.
Yes.
Because
I've seen that frame real good.
I've seen people put them and they've cracked their windshields. I've seen them put it through their floorboards because they didn't put them on the right point or crush their rock.
You don't want to get halfway down frame. You want to get up towards the front.
Yeah, I've seen them crush their rocker panels. They put it in the wrong spots. And I just see all kinds of craziness. You say, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, I guess they don't know how to read directions.
Yep.
But, hey, every education costs money, and they get an education.
Well, I'm lucky I fooled around with cars all these years. I knew better than just crawling these there with that damn jack. And I said, it's in the way. You know, that ain't the problem. The problem is I'm putting the jacks on this sucker.
Yeah.
I'm not trusting anything.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't want to get crushed either, right?
No. Well, what I do is I get the jack, and I just drop, when I drop the jack down onto the other jack, screw jack, and I let it come down onto the horses so I know she's on the horses.
Right. Do you, I bet you don't chalk your wheels.
Yes, I do, in the back. I put,
I'm just trying to catch you.
No, I got those angle blocks.
All right. No, I'm just trying to catch you. I was just seeing if you're in the game.
No, I chalk the back wheels.
All right. I was just seeing if you're in the game, Billy. You're in the game.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm just checking on you. I didn't want to see you get hurt.
Safety stuff first.
All right. Good.
And then I'll get underneath there.
Yeah.
Same thing if I'm going to change oil in the old cars. I'd do the same thing. Jack it up. Get your big steel jacks. Block the back wheels.
Yeah, you got to chalk them,
Oh, yeah. It may move for some stupid reason, you know?
Yep. Well, I can remember Mr. Zelag many years ago counseling me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Medeiros, you didn't chalk those wheels. Chalk those wheels.
Oh, no, I got them. They're like angled down like the wheel, so they fit right into the wheel.
Yep. Well, good. You're following all the rules.
Oh, I don't want to get crushed.
I drive through the city. I see people fixing their cars in the street, and they have the car jacked up.
And they get their legs underneath the car.
It's balancing on a $75 jack from Walmart.
Yeah.
There's no chocks in the wheels, and I look, and there's people around, and they're talking like it's a party, like, let's have a cookout.
It scares the hell out of me.
And I say, my God, this...
I see one guy in the housing project doing that, doing a brake job.
Yeah, this is so unsafe.
And he had on bumper jack, which I scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. I thought there was rules about fixing your car in the street, but...
Well, they do anyway. His legs was underneath the car, and he was with the wrenches and doing this, and I'm saying, one just good jolt, and that car is coming down.
Yeah. Well, those jacks aren't really...
Jacks were dangerous anyway.
Yeah, they're not... you can raise them, and then if they raise them and then you put them on horses and you lower the jack, fine, we're relying on your jack, but...
yeah, but there was no jacks underneath this car.
Yeah.
Because it was like on an angle, you know what I mean? He had it up.
Billy, we're turning into a third world country, my friend.
No. Whatever it is, my man.
Yeah, it's not good.
Well, Ralphie, that was my experience, and I got the radiator out, and I'm taking over to see Mark.
Good. So they do all the radiator repairs there?
Yeah, in fact, I got a lot of his cards. I'll drop some off at your place.
I think I have one. As I mentioned, Andy Gomes, we went to lunch, and then he said, hey, how much... I said, we were talking about different places. Well, I know the guy at Riverside. I said, you haven't been there in
nice guy.
40 years. He says, well, let's go by and see him. We're right there, so we're on Main Street, so we went.
Yeah, Lawson Avenue.
Yeah, right on.
He did gas tanks. He did radiators, and he does radiator cores for heaters.
Oh, okay.
Because he did a couple of mine, that Merc that was leaking on the Plymouth. He did them for me.
See, all the stuff today is aluminum. Most of it's junk. You know what I mean? When you have the radiators, the tanklets go, it's plastic.
Yes.
So you end up...
well, it's all the honeycomb stuff.
Yeah, they can fix those, too.
Yes, he did.
They can fix those, too.
Yeah.
But some of the radiators are thermally fatigued. They're just worn out. These people have usually they let go, they're over 100,000, and generally radiators you end up replacing them between 80 and 160,000. These plastic aluminum radiators don't
some of those heater cores are suckers that get out in them cars.
Oh, heater cores are different ballgame.
I had to take half the dash away to get at it
you
down
should
below.
see some of these cars we work on. They're really tough, really tough.
The ones are nice you can take out from the firewall,
Yeah, those are far and few between.
I know, but that one's coming from inside the car. That's a nightmare.
Majority of them, you have to pull back the dashboard and get out the heater boxes.
Yep, and all that heating ducts and all that.
The heater boxes today are very complicated. They have all these little servos and doors and.
What I do, right, Ralphie? Whatever I take out, I take masking tape. This is number one. This is number two. So I'm putting it back together. I'm putting it back according to what it says.
Yeah.
You should throw it in a pile and say, "Ooh, Where do these things go?
Yeah, heater boxes aren't the old heater boxes of the old days where you had, your little door for the heat, to
Right.
direct it from the heater core
Yes.
into and now they got blend doors, and then how it deflects to the frosters, to the center, to the bottom. It's all electronically controlled, little servo motors. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, you're right. I don't mind working in the old car. There's a little room to work with.
Yeah. Well, the new ones it's different, much more expensive to repair these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, very much.
Hey, Ralphie.
All right, Billy.
Nice talking to you.
Yep, good to hear your voice. Hey,
Tell you all the experiences I had.
I got to talk to you Monday. You and I got to go on a mission.
We do?
Yep.
Okay.
So Monday we're going to be on a mission.
All right.
So we'll be in touch in the morning.
All right, call me in the morning.
All right, buddy.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yep, bye-bye. Folks, give us a call here. We can talk about whatever's on your mind. You got a car problem, whatever's bugging you at 9960500, 9960500. For those of you just tuned in, this is all about cars with Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son Andrew. We're located at 867 Church Street in the north end of New Bedford, just off of Route 140, exit 5. Put you on Church Street, whether you're coming from the north or the south. And you can get on Church Street, and actually the name of the exit is Church Street, Phillips Road. Okay, you go one way, you're on Church Street. Go the other way, you're on Phillips Road. If you read English, it's very easy to decide which way you're going to go. You head down on Church Street, and you come up to us. There, we specialize in cars priced between $4,000 and $15,000. Trucks and SUVs up to $20,000. That's what we stock for inventory. We do bring in cars costing considerably more for people who want them. We do it all the time. Just let us know what you're looking for. We talk about it and try to find the best deal for you. Generally people who plan that way save themselves. Well, generally you save yourself a couple $1,000s from the big guys. Buying on a lot, you go up and down the main strips, and you want to pay top dollar, then see them. That's what it comes down to. If you got to have it yesterday, then you pay the price and you'll have it. If you want to save a few bucks, then you plan with us and we can save you money. The cars we do sell in stock are in a value end of the market, and for people just who do not want big payments. And most of our customers have payments anywhere from $1.25 to $2.50 in that ballpark, depending on how you structure it and finance and the money down and all that. But generally the payments are less than many people's cable bills. Okay, and these cars, we thoroughly go through them so you can get the value out of them. You can drive the money out of them, and you don't pay exorbitant excise tax, sales tax, or insurances. So there's a lot of advantages to being a little more frugal. And right about now, the whole country needs to be a little more, well, we're forced to be frugal in the private sector, but we have a flagrant government we have to get under control. We're deeper in debt now than we've ever been. It's doubled under this regime that we have now from Bush, and Bush was he was no fan of mine, to be frank with you, and now we've doubled it under this administration, under the current administration. It's nearly just under $20 trillion, and I don't think we're going to pay it back, folks. I really don't. I think we're going to be in for a real surprise hard landing. Then everybody's going to duck, run for cover, and point fingers at each other, blaming each other. But the country's been run into the ground because you've been complacent. You haven't voted, you haven't paid attention, or you listen to all the BS propaganda that they sell you. And there's nothing for nothing. You can only get something from when they take it from somebody else, and the game is almost over. Okay, the game's almost over. The Democrats have been the major player in this game, and Republicans have been very complicit along with them at the top, especially at the federal level. And now I don't think we're too off from seeing a major reset. Okay, everybody's in denial. Other countries are going through this. This is nothing new. It goes back to pre-biblical times. If you want to, read history, the deeper you look back in history, the more you see the future. And most people just don't have a clue. And that's the way life is. Nothing's changed in 2,000 years. So I know this audience is accepted from that. That's why you listen. But I think we're in for a major reset. I think it's time we flush the toilet and change a lot of these politicians in Washington, and just reset. I don't like the two personalities that are running right now between Hillary and Trump per se. So you have to look into their politics and ideologies, and what direction they may or may not go. And I think if we don't get our act together real quick and get back to our true Americanist ideals, if you will, and I just see as this isn't the country that I grew up in. It's changing much quicker. And I'm not saying that because I'm getting older and I'm getting more tunnel vision in my views and I'm getting harder in my views. No, that's not the case. Actually, I'm probably more liberal socially now than ever and more open. I'm a libertarian, essentially, and what you do in your life's your business. Just don't ask me to pay for it, unless it's for, we have some socialism, I guess you could say, is good. Like, what do I mean by that? Well, like, for instance, roads, infrastructure. It's for the greater good of society. We can create more wealth if we have a good, solid, strong infrastructure. But if I'm paying you to sit your ass at home and you're just consuming and you're not producing, then we're both losing. You don't think you're losing, but in the long run you are, and I'm losing because you're taking wealth away from me and others who are productive to support your idleness. And this is where we've gone gravely wrong in our society. Very good afternoon to you, caller. Hi.
Good morning, Ralphie. How are you?
Ah, better than I deserve.
Good afternoon?
Yeah, good afternoon.
I don't know. I've been so busy, I don't even look at the watch.
That's okay.
Listen, you're talking about the economy. Obviously, the problem is the fact that we don't sell enough gadgets to the rest of the world. We used to. We don't. And we spent a lot more money outside to maintain the world of peace than we did before. We built style bombers that cost, what, $10 billion?
$1 billion a copy is an easy statement. You mean like the B-1 bomber and things like that? Yeah.
Well, and the stealth bombers,
stealth,
the ones that are not, detected by radars.
Easily detectable.
Those are $15 billion.
Yeah.
For peace. Now, so the aeronautics are making a lot of money, but the rest of the world, the rest of the country is not. Another thing, we have so much natural resources that the common Joe is not being favored with. And that belongs to every citizen of this country. Every single dollar that comes off the ground belongs to every citizen of this country. And yet, only the fat cats are benefiting from that. So, our economics, it is screwed up.
Well, they pay.
And like you said, we're not keeping the tabs. We're not keeping tabs on who is exploiting us.
Wow.
And we are dishing out a lot more money to the rest of the world than we are receiving. You're in business. You have to sell cars in order to maintain your overhead.
Right.
To maintain your expenses. We are not selling enough gadgets. We're not selling enough products. And in your line of business, the other day I just took the time to do something like that. The foreign cars that are traveling through these roads, it's incredible.
Right.
If you just take one section, Route 24, like sometimes I drive 24, I drive up to Boston frequently. And when you're doing an analysis of the foreign cars that are in front of you, all maggots.
Mm-hmm.
And now, why aren't we building these guys in here and selling to the rest of the world? We have the technology. Why not?
Yeah. Well, the costs of building them here in America are substantially higher. And,
Ralph, yeah, but you know what?
Capital.
I think
I'm giving you the
with
business.
The technology that we have, we can still build things at a reasonable price that can be sold to the rest of the world.
Well, as you said, we've built up countries like China and Mexico, and the wages in Mexico are significantly less than they are here in these United States, and this is why you have Ford and other General Motors and foreign companies as well making billion-dollar investments. Matter of fact, there's a scarcity of labor now. In Mexico, they're having a hard time finding automotive workers.
Quality manpower.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's having a hard time because in that society there, they just don't show up. What happened to him? Well, he didn't show up. He quit. They don't. Now, there's no formality here. In America, we have a little more rules here, and people do, say, "I'm quit, I'm out of here," but over there they just don't show up. It's just
That's how our
kind of like here.
coffers dried up, and now we are $20 trillion in the hole.
We're 20 trillion in the current account. We have unfunded liabilities in other accounts where the contingent liabilities are significantly higher, and they're not being discussed, at least by the common folk. And they're keeping the game going. Federal Reserve keeps printing money and debasing all your savings in the bank. And inflation, what amazes me now is under this Keynesian-type economics that we're on, they want to foster inflation. You hear this all the time. Janet Yellen says, "Oh, we're almost at our target of 2%, this mythical 2%. Well, the prices I see going up are much higher than 2%. The cost of living, taxes, other expenses, food are heading up usually north of 2%. And and there was a time when I grew up, the old-timers didn't like inflation because they understood it watered down their currency. They knew it would cost them more currency to go out and buy milk and bread.
It comes down to simple marketing. We have to sell more gadgets. You have to sell more cars to sustain your overhead. We have to sell more products abroad in order to get in order to get the money in to pay for our expenses. I mentioned military, but obviously it goes way beyond that point.
Well, we're the largest arms exporter in the world, so I guess we're doing, in that department, we're doing something right, I guess, right? Although we give a lot of, we export a lot of...
Are we collecting? We are exporting, but are we collecting?
Well, no, a lot of it's foreign aid to buy control.
See?
To buy control.
We're not collecting. We're just giving it away.
Right. Well, we don't give it away per se. We want control, political control. We're a little more devious than you think.
When we're talking about dollars and cents, is lack of sense.
Yeah.
But dollars and cents are not coming back. The coffer, the box where the money is drying up. Right.
Well, the country is pretty much broke unless they tax every 98 cents of every dollar you make, and then you and I
we did well when we were exporting computers. Bill Gates was Bill Gates and oh good Lord.
Well, the computer revolution of the 80s and 90s increased productivity, which allowed wealth to increase. Because without productivity, you don't create wealth. And our productivity has been somewhat stagnant. Our growth in GDP, real GDP growth, this has been the most anemic since the Great Depression under this current regime. Okay, so we have some real issues here that haven't corrected themselves, and they're afraid to let the country go through the necessary fever, to come out on the other side. But it's going to reset this country, and it's going to create a lot of gashing of teeth, if you will, okay? It's going to change things as we know it, okay? Especially if we lose our reserve status, the dollar. And you're going to find out, you think things are expensive now, you have no idea. No idea.
Yeah, not until you build the big wall in the Mexican border.
Well, I mean, okay, we have to control borders. That's a given.
I know. Look, I came from a foreign country, and I came.
But you played by the rules, right?
Means, and it took. My parents paid a great deal of money, to bring us here.
Right. But you came in legally.
Through the proper means. And, I have no problem with those people that came over. You know what? My problem is that we are not handling it properly.
Right.
And I equate this with if you speed on the highway and you get caught doing 100 miles an hour, you get a fine. If you get caught doing 70 miles an hour, you get another type of fine. So find those people that came in without documents and get them. They're already here.
Right.
Find them for jumping the border.
Well, I can see some way of bringing them into the fold to make them legal aliens, residents.
They're willing to pay
without the right to vote.
Fine.
I don't think they should have the right to vote because They would.
No, but they are willing to pay a decent fine for becoming properly documented.
Right.
Yeah, and
that's
we are
providing.
not doing that. We are being, we are generalizing that everybody is bad, and that in this small community that we live in of 96,000 people, there are a lot of good people in here. They are not properly documented, and yet they're hard workers. They go to work every day.
Right.
The employers that employ them enjoy what they do because they get productivity out of them.
I got to let you go, my friend. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hi, Ralph.
Hi.
In regards to cars.
Yes.
On the car repair.
Yes.
My rear passenger window went down, and of course I can't get it back up.
I want to come back up, huh?
Because you don't hear the motor running at all.
Right.
So, do you have an idea of ballpark figure how much it costs to repair that?
What kind of car?
It's an 01 Buick LeSabre.
Well, you probably spend, probably run you over $100 to put a new window regulator in, if that's the problem. Okay? You might have a bad connection or a switch, too. Might be less than that, depending on,
And what if it needs a new motor?
Generally, you replace the motor and the window regulator. They come as one unit. Sometimes the motor is just available as well. I don't know specifically on that car without looking it up. What year Buick, you said?
01 Buick.
01 Buick LeSabre. Probably run you between parts and labor. I'm guessing here, probably 175 in that ballpark, 200. I'd have to look it up to be more precise with you.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, though, the window's down now.
Yeah, it's down and covered with plastic.
There's no way of getting it up?
No, I tried pulling it up a little bit, and it did come up a wee bit, and then 5 minutes later, it went down again.
Well, if you bring it by, we could probably wedge it up for you until we make the decision to repair it, so you don't have to put up with the plastic flapping or ripping out. If it started with, we haven't had rain in any significant rain here in weeks, but your luck, we'll probably have monsoons coming up.
Yeah, because of course you hear the flapping when you're on the road. I haven't been driving that much with it, but it's taped up pretty good.
Yeah,
Taped,
I mean,
the plastic on the inside.
It sounds like the little motor let go, burned out, or maybe possibly the glass fell off what they call the window regulator.
Yeah.
And that has to be replaced. It's fairly common. That's why I try to tell people and show people how to lubricate the tracks that they travel in to minimize those type of experiences.
Yeah.
But they do happen. I mean, the car's older, so it's not to be unexpected. But, it's something we can handle for you if you want.
Yeah, it's strange because the window that you use mostly is the driver's side. And these I put down maybe a couple of times a year.
Exactly.
And that's what the one that lets go.
Right. Well, the underuse too, and then sometimes that window's real tight and dry, and the motor burns out when it goes to lower the glass, and also when it goes to pull it back up. The pressure on the little motor, they just burn out, and because the tracks dry out, they don't get lubricated.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to, we can show you that to avoid that and lube the others up.
I'll stop by. I just wanted to get a rough idea of what I was in for.
We call us, and we can give you an accurate quote when I see what the parts are and all that, and we can.
Okay.
Ulysses or myself will give you a quote and exactly, what it would cost you, so there's no surprises. And when you come in and patch you up, and life goes on.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yep, bye-bye. Thank you for holding. The other caller was on the line. Give us a call back. We got disconnected or whatever. And you can give us a call here at 9960500, 99605. We'll be back in a second. I got to get a drink. Okay, we're back here. Of course, you just listened to Glenn Miller, Moonlight Serenade. I'm going to say the wrong one. Moonlight Serenade. Talking about auto industry here, I'm reading an article here. The Mexican auto industry exploiting the chronic poverty in a country of 114 million, where a third of the population lives on less than $5 a day. That's in Mexico now. Global auto companies like the U.S. Big Three, Volkswagen, Toyota, Nissan, and others have transformed Mexico into a cheap labor platform that exports 80% of its vehicles to the United States and the world market. Since 2008 economic crisis, the number of Mexican auto workers has risen 38%, going from 490,000 to 675,000. During the same period, U.S. auto manufacturing employment grew 15% to nearly $903,000. This article goes into a little more detail here. U.S., Mexican, and Canadian auto workers face a common fight. As negotiations for new labor agreements got underway last month, Ford, General Motors, and Fiat Chrysler threatened to shift more production to Mexico and other low-cost countries unless U.S. auto workers accept a new round of wage and benefit concessions. This was highlighted by Ford's announcement that it was shifting production of its Focus and C-Max models from Michigan assembly plant in suburban Detroit to a location outside of the United States. Various media reports have pointed to the automaker's Mexican operations as the trump card in negotiations with the United Auto Workers. That's a play on words, but they did use the word trump card in negotiations with the United Auto Workers. For its part, the UAW has already signaled its willingness to ignore workers' demands for significant wage improvements and impose even further concessions in exchange for supposed product commitments at U.S. factories. So the workers, the rank and file, want a wage increase, and I can't argue with them. In the private sector, we haven't seen wage increases of any significance. Even those who are unionized have seen less than certainly the public sector has. The efforts by the auto companies, along with the UAW, to put a gun to the head of workers must be rejected. The fight for good paying and secure job, however, raises the necessity for international strategy for auto workers. The globalization of production, particularly since the bipartisan passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, in 1994. You remember that? That was brought to us by the first Clinton administration, where the big pushes for that, and some people got rich from it, obviously, but was it for the greater good of we the people? That's certainly in question right now, as it's obvious in the politics, right? And there's a lot of conversation about it. Has created a integrated auto industry throughout Canada, the United States, and Mexico. That's the North American Free Trade Act. This has enabled the global auto giants, with the assistance of nationally based unions, to pit workers on the continent against each other in a fractional competition for jobs. Excuse me. The UAW has proven incapable of responding to in any progressive manner to this challenge. Excuse me a minute. Oh boy, losing my voice here. Okay. The UAW has proven incapable of responding in any progressive manner to this challenge. Instead, it has promoted the most backward nationalist sentiments, accusing Japanese, Mexican, and other workers of stealing American jobs. At the same time, in the name of making the U.S.-based corporations more competitive, the UAW has isolated and betrayed struggles like the 1998 GM Flint and the 2008 American Axle strikes, and colluded in the destruction of hundreds of thousands of jobs and the relentless reduction of workers' wages and benefits and work conditions. We're going to take a break for the news. We'll catch you on the other side. Thank you.
New Bedford's News Talk.
Okay, we're back with All About Cars with Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son, Andrew. We're located at 867 Church Street in the north end of New Bedford. And there we sell quality used cars and do a lot of automotive repairs. We kindly ask for your support in the community. Without your support, this program can't go on, because it is, it's a little expensive to be here on the air and talk to you. And you were just listening to Enrico Caruso. If your speakers are still working, probably blew out some speakers. I know it blew out my headphones here. I had to adjust the volume down. Matt did too. It's hard to believe that this man's voice, and that was in the day when this was recordings were just pretty much invented. Thomas Edison invented the record player, a little earlier than this recording, but nonetheless, it was exceptionally new technology, and he's been captured for us to listen to him now. We bring him back to life from the musical abyss, and he comes forward and entertains us, and then he has to go back in this musical seance we have. It's hard to believe that this man recorded that in 1911, over 105 years ago, and that was recorded acoustically, no electronics. His voice had to vibrate a needle to cut the master, and they made recordings from it. It's just absolutely amazing when you think about it. And the technology, the American invention, the recordings from Thomas Edison, a brilliant man at the time, self-taught in many fields. So brought forward. So it's always, to hear his music is very enjoyable to me anyway. Hope you enjoyed it. Caller, thank you for calling.
Hey, good afternoon, Ralph.
Hey.
Saw a car the other week, or actually a group of cars that I hadn't seen since, let's see, my junior high school English teacher, all those years ago. The Henry J.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Apparently there's a Henry J. car club.
Yeah, the Henry J. Kaiser, yeah.
Yeah, right. Is there any truth that I could look it up? I'm just lazy. That was made by Sears.
They sold them.
They sold them. Okay.
They sold them. Sears sold them, yeah.
Okay. I was also surprised to see, I guess I don't know much about it, a Cobb Willys.
Yeah, well, yeah. Willys.
Yeah, I know they made the Jeep.
Yeah. Willie Bantam. Willys Bantam, P-A-T-A-H-A-M, I believe, Bantam.
I don't know how good either of these were, but they weren't bad looking.
No, they made, they were as technologically advanced as, as it was back then. They built some nice machines.
Right. It's funny you think about it. How much competition there was years ago for cars, and much less today. In other words, there was a lot more car manufacturers.
In the domestic sense, yes.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, globally, there's still fierce competition, and China has many little companies, and they're kind of like where we were in the 30s, if you want to think of it that way. There's a lot of little players there, and they have the big international companies there too, because it's a huge market.
Mm-hmm. On to economics, though.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about GDP, economic growth,
mm-hmm.
et cetera, okay, we got to remind everyone, we're not talking about the growth of the quality of life for the average worker. All of that is growth of profit. And that's fine, but let's all be honest and say what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because certainly the worker is not a person who's been benefiting mightily, and probably will not again, at least in America.
Maybe not in the sense of the 50s and 60s as far as you and I, our natural lives are concerned, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, no question in my mind, the post-World War II era was a heyday for America.
Well, we weren't bombed out.
We weren't bombed out, plus because we were a grateful nation that actually rewarded our veterans. Things like the GI Bill allowed them to get an education, buy homes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
their quality of life went up.
Yeah, well, there were some good programs that came out that helped these fellas that came back from World War II. There was less abuses of the system in general at all levels. And,
especially at the top.
Yeah, well, it started, okay, a fish rots from the head down, right? So, okay.
What I find is interesting is what's happening. I still stick to my guns. Profitability today is merger, acquisition, and shipping jobs overseas.
Mm-hmm.
That's the three roads for America, which has nothing to do with increasing the quality of the American life. If he wants a job, he can go die in Iraq,
mm-hmm.
because we don't really care. And I'll stick to that one, too. For example, Pfizer, the drug company, since April has done 4 acquisitions.
Okay.
So what you're seeing is competition disappearing.
Well, unfortunately, it's happened at many different industries in this country.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if you paid attention to the EpiPen thing this week.
Oh, yeah.
Now, EpiPen, epinephrine, is really adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
I've always asked, I've never got quite an answer from medical people, are we just more aware of how to deal with this, or is allergies becoming more significant? And I've never really quite gotten that answer
I
there.
think allergies are growing because of people's diets and there's more chemicals and plastics and different drugs.
I would tend to go with that.
Yeah. I think diets and also our environment.
But they certainly can be life-threatening.
Oh, absolutely. If I get stung by a yellow jacket,
you're in trouble.
A couple of years ago, a yellow jacket almost killed me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, in any event, to refresh everybody's memory, that same EpiPen, nothing new, no new development. That a pair cost $100 10 years ago, costs $600 now.
Well, they're profiting. They're just trying to make money. They're just gouging. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. You know, the president of the company, and they're kind of actually feeling sorry for themselves when you hear them speak because they don't see anything wrong with this. Where her compensation went from $3 million a year to $18 million a year.
Yeah, I was going to say she's around $20 million. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the model from that movie, Wall Street, greed is good. I just asked the question, and I don't expect an answer. At what point does it collapse the system?
Well, everybody has their self-interest, but when they have the lack of competition, which kind of keeps prices in check.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a company or a government, and they control all aspects of a service or a product, then you get distortions.
Well, I think a good example of that is the airbag thing. Now, if you think about it, there's a great demand for airbags because today every car has at least one.
Oh, yeah.
If not multiple.
At least in the West, yeah.
Yeah. So, but when you have one or two companies supplying them, that's essentially a monopoly.
Well, there aren't a lot of manufacturers, and they're located around the world. I mean, and there's competition because obviously they have to bid for contracts.
Well, from what I've heard, there's two companies. That's not much of a competition in my book.
Yeah, there's two major. I don't know how many are left standing. I mean, after this Tanaka airbag.
Well, think about how bad this is. There are many of those airbags still on the road today.
Oh, yeah.
And you could have a head-on collision today. That shrapnel could come out of the airbag, cut your jugular, and you're dead.
Oh, yeah, I'll take your eye out.
And that somehow seems, maybe I'm naive, I hope not, that somehow that's kind of okay.
Well, no, I think there's consequences for these type of things. There's lawsuits, and there's people going to,
But that's often slaps on the wrist.
Well,
maybe
I don't know. I think
would be appropriate.
I think that Japanese company is probably bankrupt or going bankrupt for sure, and their liabilities, contingent as well as current, is going to be significant, and that's it's going to economically destroy them. I mean,
well, maybe not. We know bankruptcy, at least in America. I don't know how it works elsewhere. Is a means of protection.
Yeah. Well,
so
it's
they
a
can
way
walk
to
away from this horrific damage they've done.
Yeah. But I mean, we're focusing on airbags, but how many pharmaceutical drugs kill people, and then they have massive recalls, if ever. And, I forget how many thousands of people die every week in America due to...
Actually, that's the unsung crisis, one of them at least. That a lot of these drugs are incredibly dangerous.
Absolutely. In America. I mean, I'm talking people who die I'm talking legal drugs now.
Right. And some of them are not, they say we can't get drugs from Canada and all that.
Well, no, see, the American people have been subsidizing.
We actually manufacture some of our drugs overseas because it's cheaper.
Well, the Canadians don't allow them to sell them at the huge markups, so the American people our system has been subsidizing these lower prices in other countries. So essentially, is what's happened.
They don't have to sell the drugs in other countries, do they?
Well, no, but if there's a life-saving drug and it's going to be made available in Canada with a national socialist health service, and they're going to say, well, hey, you can make money on a drug, but you're not going to mark it up 400%.
Well, nobody makes them. Number one, nobody makes them sell it to them. But the bottom line is, in America, because we have a sign on our foreheads, Prime A1 Sucker, we pay through the nose for everything.
Well, you have an option of not buying it.
And dying.
That's
In
if
a
you're talking
Christian way,
drugs.
though,
If you're talking drugs, well,
Yeah.
don't we do that now? And maybe if you don't have a decent health plan, you're regulated to, versus there's many injustices in the health system.
We are very, my opinion, I'll stick to that, that the healthcare system in America is dangerously close to collapse.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I find it. My health insurance I have to pay for my wife and I is a tremendous burden to me, to my company, and my employees. It's a tremendous burden we have to shoulder.
So it eats away from everything else we could do.
It does. Between my insurances, my health plan, my health insurance, okay, and other insurances and taxes, it's phenomenal. The social cost. And this is why if you look around you, you're seeing our economic base shrinking. Now, nobody likes to discuss these issues, but they're happening in front of us. And certainly, you're not going to hear Mr. Keating come to New Bedford or South Coast and talk about, how businesses are doing well and all this. They don't have a bloody clue. But you look around, you see major players like, I got a flyer in the mail the other day. Actually, I got a flyer in, it was last weekend, and it was telling me to go to Ruby Tuesdays. Well, that same very week, it shut down in Dartmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're shrinking their size because their restaurants aren't profitable. Why? Because the average Joe doesn't have the extra.
Well, first of all, I will agree with you. One of the biggest, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems in this country is that the little guy hasn't been prospering.
No.
And he's the guy who goes out and buys everything.
Right.
And then everybody's amazed he's not buying everything.
But how's he going to prosper when he's living on credit cards? He's not living on on good economic sound policies.
Yeah.
And his companies, a lot of companies are just getting by day to day too. It's not just the individual.
I was surprised to read something, I think it was in the New Bedford paper, I'm not sure, where there's a lot of companies that are in fact very deeply in debt.
Well, I didn't read that article, but yeah, I was just going to touch on that. Okay, you're on it. Okay.
Yeah. The big corporations are doing great.
Well, the very top, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The big banks, the drug companies, and all that, they're doing great.
Well, yeah, because they have their tentacles into different communities. I mean, if you're looking you're old enough to remember when New Bedford had some of the strongest banks in the region.
Oh, absolutely. NBIS was one of them.
That's right. It was a $1 billion bank in the 80s. It was eviscerated and absorbed by, I think, not Bank of America. It was
At some point, it was Fleet.
Fleet. There you go.
Yep.
You brought it out. Fleet is the one that came in and bought them out. And then that began it. Then Compass 5-cent savings fell after, and they eviscerated our community of our regional banks. They eviscerated our community of our regional pharmacies. All the independently owned pharmacies are gone. They eviscerated our community of simple things like office supply stores.
Yep.
And then they bring in cheaper prices. They import all these other things, and they bring in foreign-supplied paper and paper clips and what have you, made wherever, China particularly, where they can make more gross and hold their stock prices high. So they've profited on this model, okay? And certain people have profited. We benefited in some sense. We had more selection and some lower prices, but we basically underwrote the demise of our local economy, as we did with farming. If you want to get agrarian and look at this at the most basic level, our food sources, and we will ship in food from all over the world, and it's at the expense of local farming. Now, granted, we're here in the northern climes, so if we had to eat just by what we produce in this area, we'd go back to the way it was, okay?
Right.
And a lot of people would be stressed out, okay, to say the least, because they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to prepare, they don't know what a root cellar is. They wouldn't have a clue on survival. So we're in a,
And then what you find in terms of food particularly, when they screw up, what I mean by that is the food is tainted. Boy, that can affect a lot of people.
Well,
and has caused deaths.
Oh, God, simple thing like Mullins. Mullen, had E. coli out of Colorado, killed many people. And it goes for drugs, too. I mean, this is the hazards of a modern society.
Well, even more so, too. I think what I'm saying is I won't be here to see it, but the near future is not very... It's not going to be the great days of the 50s and 60s. Let me put it that way.
Well, I think we live in great times. I think.
Well, for some.
No, I think this is the best of times. This is the worst of times.
No, I disagree with you. I think the average person has been sold out.
Well,
You
yeah,
go,
but
for
who's?
example,
But okay.
NBIS, for example.
All right. But,
That was a bank that actually kept its mortgages.
right. Well, it
They
had the
didn't
resources.
chop them up and throw them in this toxic stew.
Well, it had the resources to do it.
Yeah, well, because they were responsible.
But see, we've played the game out. We've maxed everything out. We have, it's as a country, we're consuming our future. If I'm making sense to you.
I follow.
Yeah, we're consuming our future, and there's consequences to this, okay? And we've been lied to by the politicians. We've been sold a bag of crap, and most people are just not sophisticated enough to understand what's taking place. They don't take the time to educate themselves because they're watching, the latest TV series, the Kardashians, or they're watching the latest football, baseball games, sports games. They know more about their players than they do about their politicians and the politicians. And so it goes. Nothing has changed since the Romans had bread and circus for the masses until the Romans could no longer keep it going. And the Romans were encroached upon by letting in many people from the East, which debased their society. Kind of like what's going on now today. Think about it.
Yeah, but you got to remember something. And I believe we should be controlling our borders, because if you don't have a border, you don't have a country.
Well, you're going against the current administration's views, the current regime, and the presidential candidate.
Climate very much likes that cheap labor here.
Well, yeah, because if you're going to send, first of all, if you send Americans to go pick apples, most of them would end up not getting picked, I guess. I don't know. Although, listen, every society sooner or later reaps what it's sown.
I just wonder, and I think it's going to be fairly soon, I'll close with this, that all of this is a hollow shell. What's going to happen? There was a someday, 8-10 years ago, when somebody realized that the mortgages were a mess, and the system darn near collapsed.
You have these smart players. And some of them are smart, but smart in the wrong way. And they put together these financial instruments. They're all highly educated from Harvard, Yale, Penn State, other colleges with major financial master's degrees in finances, and they come up with these new products and derivatives, and they go out to make money with them. And we've gone from a country that produced items and made things to now that it's all financial instruments and mirrors.
So again, it reflects a view I have, that there's no reality behind anything anymore.
Well, that's a way of putting it, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
When World War II came along, I hope we never see a war like that one again, but we had the ability to produce. We don't have that ability anymore.
See, but we had people who were grounded, people who had some patriotism to them. Okay, they were.
That's a word that we don't seem to treat seriously anymore.
That's right, but they had patriotism. They also they believed in a higher order. They believed in God. Be that what it may to them be, whatever religion they practice, but they did have a moral compass and rudder. Listen, they had their crime, they had their drugs, they had their prostitution, they had their issues then. But I think now it's grown much more insidious in our society, and we're reaping the consequences.
Well,
and
we've become a society that infinitely needs to be entertained.
Well, it is absolutely. I've often
when
said
I hear the hours people spend a day on their cell phone, or this Pokemon Go thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like, or the best of them all says it all, the selfie.
Yeah, the selfie, yeah. Well,
hey, Ralph, have a good one, okay?
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, well, on it goes. Give us a call here, 996-0500, 996-0500. Let me just finish off with the article I started. The article I'm reading from, by the way, because I read, some people think, well, you must be a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in either party. as far as any, to be a partisan, so to speak. Okay, but anyway, I'm reading this article. It's from the World Socialist website, and so I read left, I read right, and everything in between, and try to get an idea of what's happening out in the world, and things are changing very quickly, that's for sure, and we're not keeping up in this country, and some parts of this country are doing well, like New York City, L.A., Seattle, Miami, Washington, D.C., metro areas. But the rest of America is really in stagnation. This kind of reminds me of the 70s when we had stagflation. Remember that term, for those of you who pay attention? Stagflation, right after Bretton Woods. The agreement was thrown away under the Nixon regime. They got off the gold standard because countries like France would come here and demand gold for the dollars that they had taken in. And we were paying out too much gold. We could no longer honor the claim of $35 an ounce. So hence, let's do away with Bretton Woods. And they came up with a petrodollar. Okay, you want to buy oil, you had to buy it in dollars. So it created demand for the dollar. And now we were on a fiat currency, meaning it was backed by nothing, just the full faith of these United States. And that was helped develop by Henry Kissinger at the time, and it was pretty shrewd on their part. But now people are moving away from the dollar. The Chinese are making deals in yuan and rubles, and other countries are negotiating the BRICS, the Brazil and the other. They're not third world countries anymore. They're kind of like between the first and the second world countries, if you want to talk about it that way. But they're trying to go with other agreements and getting off using the American dollar and going through our financial systems. So the world is changing, and I don't know. I think it's going to be put us in a very precarious position here if we don't get back to really putting our nose to the grindstone and getting back to business, okay? Businesses have been shrinking in the United States. Small businesses, there's less small businesses opening versus those that are closing. And so our economy is contracting in ever so many ways, except in the growth of government and in more programs and more taxation. And we're truly down this road of socialism, and there's going to be consequences, and you can already see it. There's not going to be. We're living it. We're going through it. We're seeing it by the lack of jobs, the lack of job growth, wage growth, and these are the realities facing us ahead of us as Americans. But I don't know. Let me get back to talking about this article here. This is a slashing of wages. The news interrupted it, but the slashing of wages is, in fact, at the center of the UAW's, the United Auto Workers, growth strategy. In this report to the UAW Special Bargaining Convention earlier this year, Vice President Jimmy Settles, who is in charge of negotiations with Ford, boasted that the UAW has made the automaker U.S. plant so competitive that it relocated production from Mexico, China, Turkey, and other low-wage countries back to the U.S., adding more than 3,000 dues-paying members. Although Canadian and American auto workers were both in the UAW since the founding in the 30s and has engaged in joint struggles, by 1985 the Canadian-based and U.S.-based union bureaucracy split the international union along national lines. The Canadian Auto Workers, now called Unifor, has responded to the wage-cutting agreement signed by the UAW in the U.S. And the even lower wages in Mexico by imposing concessions on its members, including a 10-year waiting period for new hires to reach top pay, in an effort to convince the auto companies not to quit Canada entirely. So, see, these everybody's struggling for the economic prosperity, and Trump. This is why, and I listen to the news, and I listen to many news sources, and read many different articles, and it amazes me to see how virulent the opposition to Trump has become by major media. Now, major media, like I was listening to Bloomberg News, and it's owned by Michael Bloomberg. He's a billionaire by several times, and his whole news organization is vehemently anti-Trump, and it's very obvious in his news when you listen to it. I mean, how biased they are to him. But it's more than just disliking Donald Trump because his personal ways and his hubris, maybe his arrogance and what he says. But they're more afraid don't let them, don't be deceived. Most of the masses will look at what he says. They're more concerned about his policies and what he's going to do. And putting tariffs on, to build a wall, he's going to build a wall by putting tariffs on Mexican-produced goods, particularly automobiles and other expensive items that come across the border, like Carrier air conditioning. When a race got on early and he went to the plant, and the employees were rather unsettled because they're losing their jobs. They're moving it to Mexico. I think the plant was in St. Louis. That's shutting down. Mostly inner city folk that work there are going to lose reasonably decent paying jobs between $15 and $20 an hour. They're going to go to Mexico for about $2 an hour maybe. And Carrier will build air conditioners there, and people see the brand here, Carrier in America, say, oh, that's good. I know that brand, and they buy it. But if you're going to put a tariff on these goods, a 20% tariff, well, guess what? The product is no longer competitive, or has been neutralized the competitive advantage against an American company that's still producing air conditioners or automobiles, and it gives less incentive to move capital out of the country. Now, is that an efficient way to manage capital? Well, if you're truly a Adam Smith devotee or a Austrian think tank economist, you would probably say no. It's in the long run, it's not. But see, we almost have to think. Now, we're turning into a third world countries. Third world countries usually put trade barriers in effect, like China's had, that stop outside companies to coming in and displacing their companies. And that's where they have tariffs. So if you're going to import something out of China, they'll have a tariff to protect their local manufacturers because they're still considered a third world nation trying to build their base and raise their wages of their people and protect their industries, what they have of it. We're almost in that predicament now, okay? And nobody wants to admit that, but this is how we're heading, okay? Unfortunately. Now, you can agree with me or disagree with me. I really don't care. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hi, Ralph. I was wondering if you saw the write-up this week on how many public pensions are underwater.
Oh, are you kidding me? There's so many. That's why taxes are going to probably go through the roof, because these unfunded pension liabilities. Right now, the Teamsters is having a major problem with that very issue, that they're thinking about cutting benefits. I was reading an article.
There were only like three states, like Kentucky, North Carolina, and something else, that actually had 100% or more of their funding. But, I just say this facetiously. I'm sure you and I don't have a problem working and paying taxes until we're 80. So teachers can retire when they're 50.
Right. No, it's a problem.
I mean, it's such a physically taxing job to be a teacher that your body is all worn out and you have to retire at 50. I mean, what kind of baloney is that?
Well, I mean, maybe mentally they qualify, though, in today's society.
But not physically.
Well, no, but today's society, I mean, I have to give them some empathy there. Because dealing with today's realities of our society, I mean, it's very apparent.
But who else gets to retire at that kind of age? That's ridiculous to get a pension after just that. In fact, like a lot of our pensions here, I think were formulated over like the European system, and the European system. Even the people in Europe, they have that you can retire at an earlier age, depending on how physically intensive a job you have. And people that are bricklayers, they're retiring over there at 45 or 50. But even they admit, even there was one, they interviewed a guy, he was a teacher, and he was like, well, I can understand like the bricklayers and stuff. Their bodies are all beat up. They have to retire early. He says, but I'm a teacher. He says, I can teach into my 70s. Right. But not over here. That's not the way they look at it over here.
But it's what their unions have negotiated, and if they've negotiated well for their members, then they've done well for their members. No different than a company that makes profits for its stockholders, I guess. When you look at the free flow of doing business here. And this,
but I just don't see how we can support that.
Well,
and anybody who believes it, if you looked into the stock market, the returns were flat for last year, and as far as pension funds, the returns that they get are flat for last year, and they're in the negative numbers for this year. And most of the pension funds are figuring about an 8% return. How's that going to work out?
Well, that's not happening nowhere near it. And if there's a forced run on the dollar, and they'll be forced to raise rates, which right now would be very dangerous. I mean, for the people holding debt. But to raise rates to protect the dollar's value, then you would see the stock market pull back considerably. And you're going to see, because right now everybody's saying, well, look at the stock market, it's doing well. Well, if you happen to have capital in the stock market, I guess you could say it is. Maybe it's just reflecting the realities of them printing so much bloody money and making it available to the street. It's jacked up prices.
I don't see how, I don't see the stock market doing that well. And in fact, when you talk to, how many people are dropping out of the workforce, what happens, when you're getting close to retirement and you get laid off, then you say, okay, well, I'll retire early. So what do? You're over 55 or whatever, you start pulling money out of your 401k, and that a lot of that money is invested in stocks, and that drops the value of the stock market.
Yeah, well, it's I think as a previous caller said a little while back, that it's an illusion, the stock market.
Absolutely.
The values, and I think he's on the target on that. And they're talking about raising. What are they coming up with? Aren't they out in Jackson Hole right now? Or they were this weekend, past week. The Federal Reserve and all the other reserve banks from around the world meet out there and discuss policy, whether they'll raise rates. I think in September at the next meeting, or the fall, the last meeting.
How can with the economy is so fragile? How can they possibly raise rates?
Well,
that's just an illusion. They try to. I didn't get to. I've been up working today, and I didn't get a chance to listen to any of your callers. But to my opinion, the stock market, it's an illusion. Rather the raising of the interest rates, that they want to make you think that they have power, and we're going to, like you say, welcome comrades,
right.
and everything. It's just an illusion that they can that they have power. The amount of power that the Fed has, it's not like they used to, because money is created through all kinds of different means. It's not just dollars that are created by the Fed.
Well, no, it's an illusion, kind of like you've seen Dorothy, right? When she went to find
like getting back to the pension funds, if your retirement, like the teacher's retirement, is based, I think, on an 8% return, and you're looking over the last few years, and the return has been 0 or negative, if you still believe that somehow they're going to come up with an 8% return, then you're the kind of person that's believing like Bernie Madoff's lies when he was giving people like a 15% return back in the time when you could only get an 8% return. And they ask people, well, why did you believe him? And people would be like, well, I don't understand it, or I don't know how he's doing it. He said he's doing it through derivatives or some kind of crazy
well, people believe. They want to believe. People.
That's right.
They get suckered in.
I think people now that if you see what the returns are and you still believe that they're gonna somehow come up with that magical 8% a year return. It's just like believing Bernie Madoff and his lies. How do they do it? Well, we don't know how he does it, but he does it all the time. Yeah, because he was stealing from Paul to pay Peter. That's the only way he did it.
We're doing that on a national level in the government as well.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's not just in business. I mean, it's the government. Social Security is that way. So many of our other unfunded liabilities. It's amazing that the people that got us into this problem think they're the ones that are going to get us out of these problems. That's so, and that's why I'm for, Hillary for prison, not for president, and
Absolutely.
to continue another, it would just be another 4 years of the continuation that we've been on, which has been down, and unless we have, it's going to be, listen, no matter who gets in, it's going to be painful, very painful.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to be inheriting a world of hurt,
Donald Trump touched on that, and I said, I'm not in love with the guy, but he came out with a comment months ago, I think it was early in the year, that this economy, if the next president could be in dire straits here with whoever gets elected, and he didn't, I don't even think at the time he thought he had a chance at it, and he came out with it, and they everybody piled up on him saying, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But unless we get back to basics in this country, that there's nothing for nothing.
What are you talking about? How come you in the know are letting the masses know that something's happening? We got to keep them stupid, so they keep spending every dollar that they have to keep the economy going. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them there's a problem coming. They might stop spending money and making us rich, and instead saving their money and being able to weather a storm. You look at a lot of other countries, the saving rate is so much higher. So when there's a downturn in those countries, people have savings.
But they can take your savings in the bank and recapitalize the bank under one of the
absolutely. That's a whole different subject.
The Congress passed one of these acts. Most Americans don't know this, that they can confiscate your wealth and make you.
It's unbelievable. In fact, there's some ads on TV that talk about taking your money out of the bank and buying gold. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not a fan of owning a lot of gold, but I would say, if you take your money out of the bank and you put it in gold, at least you're going to get something at the end of it. If you leave your money in the bank and you think that's safe, I'd listen to Pat Boone on TV there, and your money is not safe. And I try to tell people
I would go to banks.
They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
But
you got to invest. I would go. In my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor, so it's my personal opinion, but I would be reluctant to put my money in banks that have large derivative exposures. And you can look it up online, and I would tend to favor smaller banks that are solid credit unions.
Yeah, I think the smaller sort of privately owned banks that are in the, Slade's Ferry, some of these small banks.
Right here in New Bedford, we got some solid credit unions, and
absolutely,
right here in the city, we've got some solid.
Because that FDIC insurance, all that guarantees you is you're going to get a piece of paper that says, you have $100,000 in the bank and it's safe, and then you say, well, can I have that money? Oh no, I'm sorry. But you like in Greece, you can have $50 a month or $50 a week or whatever.
Right.
But hey, I need that money to pay my mortgage. I'm sorry, sir.
There's not enough cash to go around. There's no question about that.
That's right. And in fact, people knew that.
Well, I should say currency, because it's not money. It's currency. It's currency that's created by the Federal Reserve. Money is something that holds its value, or it might go one way or the other, but it's generally holds its money like gold and silver.
Unfortunately, most of the generations have died off there. Remember the Great Depression, but.
Right.
If they listen to their grandparents or parents and learn some lessons from that about being a little wiser with your money and not trusting the banks. Everybody thinks, the bank is a safe place because I'm getting a whole 0.5% interest on it.
And they're printing it. They're printing it like they're printing 6-7% a year, and they're giving you 0.5 point. You're going negative. Yeah, I gotta let you go. We got calls. I gotta. Go
nice
Chase.
talking with you, Ralph.
Thank you. Yep.
Bye now.
Thank you for holding. Good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm doing.
First time hearing your show. I actually like it quite a bit.
Oh, thank you for that.
You bet. It's funny. You guys touched on it in the last two calls, but this election to me is going to come down to the average person that wants to reduce the amount of leverage that's against them by people that are globalists or. You can name whatever strata you want to name, but there's no question the average person feels that they're working harder. They're not getting the return on the value.
Their labors. They're not keeping enough of their labor. It's all being taxed out, or you're not getting You're not going forward in the world.
Well, exactly. Or costs have risen to the point where, there 2 calls ago, the gentleman mentioned, kind of pining about the 40s and the 50s and the early 60s. And, that was a different time, too. I mean, we came out of World War II, and we had factories. We were manufacturing, and we were pretty stout as a country, where the rest of the world wasn't. It was pretty much bombed into.
That's right, and we were capital rich. We were capital rich.
And we were rich, and we had this massive amount of, I would just say, equity in general as a country.
Right. Well, equity, you're right. We had a capital rich company. Now we're living off our capital. Now we're not creating capital.
And these people that were quote unquote the paper pushers of the '80s and the traders of the '90s and whatever you want to call them now. You were mentioning about from Harvard or from wherever, from Sloan, whatever. They're trading our equity, whether it's trading jobs to China or whatever. They're all making money on moving equity out of the United States to the point where we're bottomless on equity.
Right.
And as hard as people are working, and I think that's what this election is about more than anything. Is Hillary Clinton can say, well, we're going to tax the rich, or Elizabeth Warren can say, yeah, we're going to go after banks. Nobody if anyone that really believes that money would actually budge the needle in this country or bring more return to the average person that's driving in the driveway at 6 o'clock, that's garbage.
Yeah, I mean, we have to change our policies. We're going down the road of socialism, and we're not down the road. We're in it. And, we're in it. Where anybody thinks to go any further without hitting the brakes, and I mean hitting the brakes and changing the direction. But see, we've got tens of thousands of young people coming they've been indoctrinated in these colleges now. And there's you want to call it a national conspiracy, an international conspiracy? Well, you certainly have every right to do so, but these kids come out now with tainted. They don't have a clue. They've been indoctrinated with a socialist dogma that's proven not to work. I mean, you want an example of a current case that's turning into a real disaster? Venezuela. They can't even get food or toilet paper. They're living out of dumpsters. It's incredible what's going on.
It turns quickly, too, because it wasn't too long ago that they seemed to be okay, and then...
you hit it right on the head. It turns quickly. You hit it right on the head. I've got to let you go, caller, but call me back next week. I appreciate the call. I got one more call. We're running out of time.
Yep.
Thank you. Caller, thank you for holding.
Oh, hello, Ralph. It's Doug. Another great show you have today.
Doug, thank you.
Yeah, great. You and your listeners are spot on as usual.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Just wanted to contribute a little bit.
Oh, good. I appreciate you calling in. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed or your listeners noticed that the list of the wealthiest counties in the country came out in the past week or two. And the top 4, number 1 through 4, wealthiest counties all are directly adjacent to Washington, D.C.
Oh, what do you know? Surprise, surprise.
Yes, and number 7, I believe, also was. So 5 out of the top 10 and the top 4 wealthiest counties are right there in Washington, D.C., all the insiders, the lobbyists, etc.
Government money, government jobs.
Yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
I hear you.
I'm not a big Trump supporter or anything like that. There are a lot of things that I find a little disagreeable, but I think the system really needs to be shaken up.
Yeah, flushed.
Yes.
Flush the toilet. As I said that a month ago. I got back from vacation, and I came back as it's time to flush the toilet here. It just I see this country falling behind more and more at every level, just about every level you want to name. At a positive level, I should say, but
yeah.
And that has, and it don't matter what religion you are, what nationality you are, what race you are. It's as Americans, we've got to really work a lot harder and get back to business here. And the current policies have not been working.
No, and the Federal Reserve, they're part of that Washington crowd. I don't think they have a clue what's going on in, New Bedford or Worcester or Springfield.
Right. I don't think they, well, I mean, you can read their beige book. They don't touch on it too much, though.
No.
When you get into it.
But that was it, Ralphie. I just wanted to check in. I know you're coming up to the top of the hour.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Okay. Thank you again.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. Thank you, folks. Thanks for listening. We're going to go out with a little tune here. Can't play it all, but here we go. Look us up, Ralph's Auto Center, North End of New Bedford.